Assalamu alaikum. Suleiman Rahim here. Welcome. Brothers and sisters, here's a brief clip to show you the desperation of these evil, sick people. Everything this woman tells is a lie. I'm going to comment on it as we go along and something at the end. But just to reaffirm, these people are just evil, they're sick, they're desperate, they're in a state of, they're on trial right now. The judge is here. They're trying to talk their way out of it. But they're not going to talk their way out of it. This is not a judge they can corrupt, intimidate, fool, corrupt. They can't. They're trying to talk their way out of just some lie after lie after lie. America was corrupt from the beginning all the way to the end. Their last breath will be a breath of corruption. So just listen, and I'll comment on some of the lies as all of it. I mean, they're all lies as we go along.
But remember, convicting an entire country of racism, it requires that a lot of lies be told and endlessly repeated. Like the laughable argument that modern-day policing is just a vestige of slavery.
Watch
In
this
certain
lie.
parts of the country, modern policing has direct lineage to the slave patrols. The slave patrols deputized white Americans to stop, to question, to search any black person who was walking about to ensure that enslaved people were not escaping or going in places where they weren't supposed to be.
She gets paid a lot of money to say stuff like that, but the police...
Now listen. Listen carefully here. Now, slavery started in this country in 1619. Now watch the dates here. The statement that the black female made was that slavery was created. The police force was created by slave patrols. It's a reflection. In other words, that's where it started from. Its Genesis was from the slave patrols, right? Slavery started in 1619. Now see, they tell obvious lies, but nobody's going to call them on it because the demons, they like these lies because they think just like slave master. And slave master want to believe these lies because they have to, because they know the punishment for rape, murder, oppression, kidnapping. The penalty is death. And there's no statute of limitations. And by their own law, right, America is guilty of all those crimes. And if you want to go from a technical point of view, America is a corporation. America is technically a corporation. And so all these things happen under the American flag. So they can't even say, well, it happened before we established America in 1777, whatever. No, all this stuff still was continuing on the American flag. In 1776, that was before 1800, which she's going to talk about right now. Now just watch this carefully.
In the United States, this is the truth, had its roots in England. First in the old tradition of community night watchmen transferred to the American colonies, then the important modernization that gave rise in 1829.
1829. That was just almost about 30 years before so-called Civil War. Almost 200 years, 1619, that's over 200 years after slavery started when they had slave patrols. So how in the hell, right, is she going to say that, oh no, the police force started originated in England in 1829, right, when it was already going on in 1619 in America? See, if they got the idea in 1829 from Britain, which was the original slavers, they got it from the slave patrols. See, it's backwards. But they didn't say anything.
To the London Metropolitan Police Force and its ununiformed bodies. Now, this basic model was adopted with a delay of 2 or 3 decades by large cities in the U.S. And it was only in the 1850s that those in the East provided themselves with uniformed policemen on a permanent payroll.
So how did what that black woman say was wrong? She said it was established back in during slavery, which we're still slaves now, 1619, and this fool liar was say, well, no, it's established 1850. 200 years later. No, it came out of slave patrols, and they might have gotten the idea later, but they got the idea. Like I said, the police force now is the whole idea of policing right now is to maintain all the stuff they took from everyone else. That's the purpose of it. So if Britain adopted 1850 in a formal way, right, it's still the same thing, has the same purpose. Lying dogs.
That's courtesy of National Review. Yeah. Our children, from the time they can talk to the time they will graduate, will be lied to about policing and a lot more by those who want to convict and upend.
She's the one lying. See how they say, and that's desperation. This is called propaganda. This is obvious lie. It's obvious lie. Oh, you just look at it a few minutes, think, just do a little thinking, and it's obvious lie. How in the hell can they say that policing started 1850 when they already had it going here in 1619, the slave patrols? In a faraway country in England, had nothing to do with America. No, it was started here in America. The whole purpose of it, they never had, see, she's confirmed what I've been saying. She confirmed there wasn't any police force before they had slavery. She confirmed it. Because she said, well, it started 1850 in England. Right? So in other words, there was never a police force, like I said, on the whole planet before slavery started. She's committing that right there. But they did have slave patrols, which was the beginning of policing in the 1619s. She even says that, but she twists it around and just say what she wants to say. She shows the pictures that they had slave patrols in 1619. So how the hell is she gonna say no? No, that wasn't it. What really real police was in 1850. These sick people, sick.
And our country. They're going to be forced to learn and then memorize and repeat these mantras of systemic racism. This has to be resisted with everything.
Systemic racism. Understand what that means. That means it's embedded in the system. Systemic, right? It's embedded in the system. It's part of the system. And that is what racism is, because racism is the ideology that they use to take everything from everyone else. Did they take anything from European countries? Did the European countries go and take any European land? No. They take and put any Europeans in slavery? No. They commit genocide in other European countries? No. Did they put smallpox and biological war against other European countries? No. You say biological war? Yeah. What do you think they were doing to the Native Americans here with smallpox? So that was biological war. They talking about now the plagues. They was the one committing biological war back then with smallpox and all other kinds of diseases they was applying to these people purposely. So it was based on racism. They took their land. Australia took their land. They went to South Africa, took their land. They took from black people and other original people. They ain't going to take from European countries. The Irish didn't go and take the British land, right? The British didn't go and take the French land. They come over and took other than white land. And they brought blacks over here. They didn't bring whites over here in slavery. They couldn't come over and brought blacks over here in slavery. That's racism. It was a race war that they established 500 years ago. The Europeans initiated a race war 500 years ago. Racism. That's how they got powerful. That's how they got rich. They got hold of the gun, which they stole technology from China, right, and from the Middle East, because the Middle East had, the blacks in the Middle East had guns. They just didn't use it the way Europeans did. They had guns and cannons. That's a fact. So that's what they did. So they declared war against the racist 5 years. Now you're talking about no such thing as racism. No, racism is the whole basis of the system. That's what it means, systemic, right? Just like stink is systemic to shit. You're not gonna find a shit that smell like perfume. Stink is systemic to shit. It's like stink is systemic to skunks. That's what it means, systemic racism. So they can't get rid of it. To get rid of it, that means if you get rid of the stink from a skunk, you get rid of the skunk. If you get rid of the stink from shit, you get rid of the shit. You can't clean up shit. That's what systemic means. They well explain. That's only, if America give it up, tell America they're not systemic racism, tell them to give the land back to the Native Americans, Native Americans still here, get the land back to them, return us back to our land, and take their great ideas. They think that the reason America's so great, their great ideas, their great democracy, all the stuff they have, then take it back to Europe, they'd still be great, wouldn't they? Bunch of liars.
Thing we have, and we must teach our children to love America as much as we do, which means telling them the truth. We can point to generations of American liberals who love this country and who believe that it was the best hope of the entire world.
All white folks. Of course they're going to believe it. We show a lot of skunks that like stink. We can show a lot of skunks that like shit. We like a lot of skunks, We can show a lot of flies that like shit. We can show it to you. So our children should love shit too. Because we show a lot of skunks that like stink, and we show a lot of flies that like shit. So man, they should know, so what's the problem? Right? What's wrong with shit? We see a lot of flies that like it. We show, what's wrong with stink? We show a lot of skunks that like it. Of course. Of course. I mean, this is Fox News. Well, the other ones, this is bad because they got the other approach, right? They're trying to say, well, yeah, America is shit and everything, but it's not us. See, it's the other ones. See? Because we good shit. See? We smell better, put some fuel on us. See, we good shit. You see? That's their argument. It ain't us, it's them. See, you go to court, and you got these bank robbers. No, they turn against each other. No, they robbed the bank. We just stood out in the car, and we didn't know we was robbed. We was just getting in a getaway car. We didn't know it was a getaway car. So that's what's going on, because they scared. See, some trying to defend their BS, and others trying to just running scared. So the liberals are running scared, right? And other ones, they trying to defend it. No, man, this nothing. That's why they got Farrakhan. No, they was evil people. They were sinful, and we just do what you told us to do. I mean, how can you put them in our prison, like you go to the warden and the guards, and you convict the guards for beating up the prison. Wait a minute, hold it. That's what we guards. You put them in our prison. They was criminals. So how you gonna get mad for punishing them? That's our job. They was in our prison. They're criminals. We punished them. That's what I'm trying to say. That's why I got Farrakhan telling you was evil. You was sinful. That's why I was born here. You understand what's going on here? That's why I got Farrakhan telling you that. See, because if Farrakhan's right, then America is not devils. They were just doing God's will. See, they're not devils, and they should be punished. Because we should be punished for being so sinful. Listen to what Farrakhan said. That's exactly what he's saying to you. That we should be, America's good people, they was just doing their job. They're doing God's will to punish us for being so sinful and for not listening to him. So yeah, we should be more punished. The plague is punishing us because we're not listening to Farrakhan. All this is bullshit, all of it.
Franklin Roosevelt, Harry Truman, John Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, and countless other liberals who believed in the American dream. They all refused the...
All devils. And we supposed to be impressed by that? Right? Their children not the ones being killed and beat by cops and stuff. And they're all criminals, especially the Kennedys. That's how they got rich. I mean, the whole country, that's how they got rich, but them particularly, his father was a mob boss. And then they're such hypocrites, and then once they got rich and got powerful, then they turn on the mob. That's why they killed them.
Notion that America is an evil system. But of course, come on, today's left, they're going to do everything they can to silence our witnesses, our facts. Their schools won't teach the truth about American history. Their media won't tell the truth about our role in the world. And their movie studios, they'll continue making anti-American filth and propaganda.
Your role in the world, your real history. You stole this country, you killed off the people, genocide, you raped, you brought us over here, right? Forced over here, kidnapped us over here, beat us, hung us, raped us, produced a whole hybrid of your demons, and that's not the truth about your history. You wiped out the native people here. You took their land because you ruined your land over Europe, and so you looked to everybody else you take. And everybody else reduced them to animals. That way, it was okay to take what they had. That's racism. So they were animals. So you can take what they had because you didn't turn on each other. You didn't go to Russia to take their land. You didn't go to France to take their land. No, you went to China, right? And what about China? What you do? You forced opium on them. You forced them drugs on them. You forced it on them. They had to buy your opium, and that's how you drug China. Now you talk, well, China's spraying drugs over here. You ever heard of karma? Consequences of a bitch. All this stuff coming back at your ass. Now you trying to walk out, trying to talk to her. They put these little blonde, blue eyes, like they're supposed to be cute. So they don't look cute to me. They look just like they are. So you're not fooling me. And look at your station. Not systemic racism. Well, I don't see many black folks on there.
But truth isn't that easy to stamp out. Unlike their comrades in Beijing, they don't yet have the ability to silence us. We still have freedom of speech, we still have freedom of assembly, and freedom of religion, and the right to bear arms. They don't have the evidence to convict today's America of what they're charging. But we have an airtight case against them for perpetrating a massive fraud against us.
Can you believe this? I ain't gonna call it what it is. Can you believe this? I mean, just listen. And you got a lot of black folks buying this. And most white folks are buying it. They don't have any choice. Told this historical history. I mean, you think that, nothing should ever happen. Because, what they want to go back to is pre-50s. Because when I was growing up in go to school, that's what they taught you. They didn't teach you about racism. They didn't teach you about slavery. They didn't teach you about any of that. I didn't know. I didn't find out about any of that stuff until I was in the military. And it had riots and things. I just missed the riots because I went in '66, and the riots occurred right after I left. And that probably a good thing for me because the state of mind I'd have been right in the middle of that, and I probably got myself killed and everything because I was always radical. I just didn't have the knowledge. And the knowledge can start coming out after I was already over there. As I was away out of the States, over in Germany somewhere. And then the books started coming out, I started reading them. And I started finding about slavery. I didn't know anything about slavery. I didn't know about because they gave you whitewash history. They ain't talk about black folks. They talk about black folks they had loose skin, they got Americans, the Romans and the Greeks, all that glorious stuff. Then they got little black folks, and they had little huts, and little black people running around with a bone in their nose. That's the history. And you want to sneak up under your desk. You felt so bad. See, they want to get back to that, the lies.
And that's the angle. Joining me now is Colonel Alan West, chairman of the Republican Party of Texas, and Dinesh D'Souza, a conservative author, filmmaker, and host of the Dinesh D'Souza podcast.
We're going to leave it there, brothers and sisters. Because those are two Negroes. I mean, one is a Negro. He is pathetic. He's a demon. No doubt about it. Right? And the other one's India, and they're racist too. You ever been to India? They come over here and they gonna talk their stuff. And this woman talking about, they so prejudiced against. And India, you don't really black over in India. Even the black Indians, the dark ones, you don't stimulate them. They call them untouchables. That's what they call them, untouchables, right? And that means they're the lowest part. They're the lowest of the low. That means a Brahmin, which is like, they're the lightest ones, the most white Indians. They can kill an untouchable if they just walk across their path and nothing will happen to them. Gandhi, the one Mahatma Gandhi, all these black folks talk about, he was a Brahmin. And when he was in South Africa, they don't tell the truth about him. He was a lawyer. He was putting away oppressing black Africans back in South Africa when he was working there. He hated black people. He was a Brahmin. That's what Kamala Harris is, a Brahmin. That's why she married white. They'll have nothing to do with black. Africans don't go to India because they treat their own black dark. The real Indians over in there in India, right, are really dark skinned, but they have no power. They're Brahmins, and you stay in your caste, and you can't marry outside your caste. They will not marry anyone outside their caste. They do that, burn them alive. They had stories about this. They're lowest. They're really dark. I mean, they're really dark. The real Indians are really dark skinned, very dark, much darker than me, and they call untouchables. And that's the caste system over in India. See, and I said, Kamala Harris she's a Brahmin. See, and they won't tell you that. That's what she used to call used term because they know they can use Negroes. Oh, I'm black. See, to get the votes. But she was putting away black folks and laughing about it when she was a prosecutor in California. And then they asked her, well, she smoked marijuana. Yeah, but why don't you put black folks away like, like popping chiclets or something? You see? So that's where they are. And just like Barack Obama, I mean, he was African. He wasn't one of us. He's a tribal Levite. He didn't do a damn thing for black people. When black folks gonna wake up on this? And over there, right? He don't care about black people, but they come over here now. They took the black folks' jobs. They come run over here after all the smoke they clears was safe for them to come over, right? And now they're gonna tell black folks what we should do, what we can't do, whatever. And don't go to. You don't want if you're black, you don't go to India. You don't even want to go to India if you're a black Indian. And if you from Africa or from over here, they don't want you over there. How many times you seen blacks over there? And how many times you see Indians step from, oh man, they treat black folks bad, all kind of stuff. But wake up, brothers and sisters. You're going to wake up a few minutes because all that BS they got, software they got run your brain is about to be short circuited. Okay, brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum.